Michigan's Shea Patterson and LSU's Joe Burrow have been the two most talked about transfers of the 2018 offseason. Patterson received a waiver to play for the Wolverines after transferring from Ole Miss. Burrow left Ohio State as a graduate transfer and landed with the Tigers. One Big Ten East team is counting on an SEC West transfer, and another SEC West school is counting on a Big Ten East transfer. Needless to say, Ole Miss and Ohio State fans will be watching both of these transfers closely as well. More top 25 QBs for 2018. LSU is coming off a 9-4 season, while Michigan finished 8-5 in 2017. Both programs are counting on these quarterbacks. So, which one will make a more significant impact for their team in 2018? The case for Patterson. Patterson is the highest-ranked quarterback Michigan has ever had, at least according to 247 Sports Composite recruiting rankings. Jim Harbaugh's quarterbacks combined for 9 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last season, and this is an upgrade at the position, assuming Patterson beats out Brandon Peters and Dylan McCaffrey in fall camp. He's the missing piece for a team that brings back all the key parts from a defense that ranked 3rd in the nation in total defense, despite being stressed by that poor quarterback play in big games last season. Patterson had 7 games with 300 or more passing yards at Ole Miss. Michigan quarterbacks have combined for just 4 over the last 3 seasons. More, how Patterson fits at Michigan. The case for Burrow. Burrow waited in the wings for 3 years as a backup at Ohio State, and he's already in competition to be the best quarterback LSU has had this decade, without even throwing a pass. That's why there's so much excitement in Baton Rouge for Burrow, who looked good in an admittedly limited sample size with the Buckeyes. If the Tigers are getting the quarterback who ripped up Ohio State's spring game each of the last 3 years with an efficient approach in the passing game, that could be the difference in those key games in the SEC West. Zach Mettenberger is the only LSU quarterback to hit 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns in a single season this decade. Burrow has the talent to hit both of those marks in 2018. More, Burrow's arrival should excite LSU. The case against Patterson. He's not going to be in the same offensive system, and that means he won't be dishing out 300-yard games every week in Ann Arbor. The Wolverines also have a young group of receivers that still must improve, and that means Donovan Peoples-Jones, Tariq Black and Nico Collins must take the next step in their development. Patterson also is coming off a season-ending PCL injury from his time at Ole Miss, which has already rallied behind its new quarterback in Jordan Tuamu. There's a sentiment that Tuamu might be better than Patterson, too. Patterson won't be expected just to make a bowl game in Ann Arbor, either. He'll be counted on to win at Notre Dame, Michigan State and Ohio State. Transfers are inherently risky. For Michigan, it worked out with Jake Rudock, but not with John O'Korn. Patterson will have higher expectations heaped on him than either of his foreigners, and he hasn't taken a snap for the Wolverines. The case against Burrow. LSU knows all about the transfer roulette wheel. It worked out with Mettenberger, but Danny Etling, another Big Ten transfer from Purdue, had an up-and-down career with the Tigers under Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, the latter of whom switched offensive coordinators this offseason by turning to Steve Ensminger. The fact LSU is willing to take Burrow on this late implies the Tigers' other options haven't developed. The LSU schedule is brutal, too, and Burrow has yet to start a game in college. He'll see Miami at Jerry World and Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium in September, plus crossover games against Georgia and Florida, in Gainesville, before we even get to Alabama. The Tigers could potentially be an underdog in half of their games. More best transfer quarterbacks of all time. Ultimately, it comes down to this. Both quarterbacks have 2 years to deliver on their expectations, and as difficult as it might be for both fan bases, the second year will be better than the first if these quarterbacks stay in school. If they don't, it means they had enough success right away in 2018. For Burrow, that means giving LSU a chance against Alabama. The Tigers have lost 7 straight to the Crimson Tide, but the last 3 losses at Tiger Stadium have come by an average of 7 points per game. Quarterback was the biggest difference in those losses, and Burrow gives LSU its most intriguing option this decade. He'll have to show up ready to play. The same goes for Patterson, who faces more expectations at the start, given Harbaugh's well-publicized 1-5 record against Michigan State and Ohio State. Drew Henson is the last Wolverines quarterback to win in Ohio Stadium, and that was in 2000. Michigan was close in 2016, but J.T. Barrett made the difference in a 30-27 double overtime victory. So who will have the bigger impact? We might get a good look from the start, when Burrow takes on Miami in Arlington and Patterson taking on Notre Dame in South Bend. The spotlight won't stop on these two quarterbacks. Pressed for a guess, we'll say Patterson makes a bigger impact in 2018, but Burrow's 2-year plan could lead to larger NFL success down the line. Who would you pick for the next 2 years?